Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So this is disturbing. 10 states in the US have been siphoning federal money away from needy families, and they're diverting the funds to anti-abortion clinics with ties to evangelical groups. According to the Guardian news outlet, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Missouri, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Texas have all stolen money from the federal TANF program, which is TANF, like Frank. That stands for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And they're handing this money to clinics that actively work to shame women into changing their minds and preventing them from having abortions. This was discovered by a group called Equity Forward. They conduct investigations and they do research into human rights, gender equity, sexual and reproductive health and justice. And the information is going to be published in one of their upcoming accountability reports. And it shows that even during the pandemic, which left families decimated, totally struggling to keep food on the table, to keep a roof over their heads, because our government only works for corporations and doesn't give a shit about average Americans to help them pay their bills. These states, during all of that, funneled millions of dollars in welfare funds, federal welfare funds, by the way, to these what they call alternatives to abortion programs. They also use state taxpayer money for these evangelical pet projects. And according to a senior policy analyst named Ike Floyd, he's from a firm called Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. He says, basically, we can thank Bill Clinton for this BS and working with the Republicans on this. Floyd said that Clinton-era welfare reforms resulted in, quote, a fundamental shift in how cash assistance to families with children with little or no income was funded. States have control over those dollars in a way they didn't necessarily have before. Clinton's welfare reform was crafted in large part by Republican Rick Santorum. And yeah, I'm talking about that Rick Santorum who just got kicked off of CNN for his bigoted, racist diatribe on a regular basis. They finally said enough is enough. And Santorum bragged about this. When he was running for president, he was bragging about how he crafted Bill Clinton's welfare reform bill. And this report by The Guardian also details how some states have done this by restricting welfare benefits to the point of basically making them non-existent. One example they give is in Missouri. In 2015, Missouri passed new laws that cap welfare benefits at 45 months total for your life, for the rest of your life. So throughout your entire life, if you live in that state, you're allowed cash assistance for less than 4 years total. And it's not like these welfare recipients were getting rich off of these existing programs, as it was. According to state data, the average monthly benefit for a Missouri family, not an individual, but the entire family, is just $256. So these states and these regressive policymakers would like for you to believe, oh, these people are just lazy, they're just living off the government. Who's living with an entire family off of $256? Are you freaking kidding me? And since these new laws went into effect in January of 2016, and then up through April of 2021, so right at the peak of the COVID pandemic, during that time, 71% of their welfare recipients in that state, in Missouri, were dropped from the program. That included almost 29,000 children and almost 17,000 families. During basically almost that same period of time, so since 2017 and over a 4-year period of time, up through this past year, Missouri sent $26 million to anti-abortion facilities. Texas, too. Since 2006, Texas has diverted $45 million from these low-income support systems to anti-abortion clinics, which they refer to as crisis pregnancy centers. And this is another state that chokes out needy families, because the maximum welfare benefit for a family of 4 in Texas is $231 a month. These people are not getting rich off of this. They're not living large. And you're not going to believe this one. Pennsylvania has sent $30 million to an anti-abortion program called Real Alternatives. Real Alternatives then took a chunk of that money from Pennsylvania to establish these anti-abortion facilities in Michigan. So they diverted taxpayer money to an entirely different state. You think Pennsylvania voters know that? You think Pennsylvania residents know that the taxes they're paying are being used in a different state? And here's the deal. I'm not rah-rah pro-abortion. The idea bothers me on an emotional level, especially as women pass the first trimester. But I don't believe in regulating a woman's body. I do not believe that the decision should be made by anyone other than that woman, because she's the only one who's going to be impacted by that decision for the rest of her life, whatever she chooses. I know, because I was 18 when I became pregnant with my son, and it was a very difficult decision. I knew I would be raising him alone, and I knew my family was not in a financial position to help. And I had very big dreams for myself and aspirations for my future. And I don't regret having my son. I would give my life for his any day of the week. But I'm not going to lie, it changed my life in every conceivable way. It altered the trajectory of my life forever. So having a child is not something that should ever be forced on any woman, especially if she's the victim of rape or incest. And these abortion clinics lie to these women and these girls. It's a complete bait and switch situation. They've been caught lying about the risks of abortion and other things just to try to trick them into carrying their pregnancy to term. If they were honest, if they said up front what they were and what their goals were, that would be one thing, but they don't. They offer to help these women. They make themselves out to be a medical clinic, and then they offer like diapers or car seats, things like that, clothes. But then they'll make them go to Bible study first, or they'll force them to have unnecessary ultrasounds so that they can try to guilt them into changing their minds. And why are activists constantly trying to defund Planned Parenthood when these other facilities are far more prevalent and are taking tax dollars away from needy families? Because according to the data, some states contain only one abortion provider, but they have 15 anti-abortion clinics. And they say that in Missouri, it's one of the worst. For every one abortion facility there is in Missouri, there are 74 anti-abortion facilities, just like these that I'm talking about. And if they're truly pro-life as they claim, and they're really the party of family values, doesn't it make more sense to help poor families feed the children that are already here trying to stay alive? Why would they want to steal funds from families who can't afford to feed their children? How is that pro-life? That's pro-fetus. That's not pro-life. And the majority of the work done at Planned Parenthood, by the way, is providing cheap or free breast exams to check for breast cancer for women in need. It's not abortions. That's a small portion of what they do. So pro-life my ass. Now, here's the scary thing, or even more scary thing. Because states have seen how easy it is to steal these funds and keep it out of the public eye, additional states are now trying to get in on this grift. They said that Arizona, Arkansas, and Iowa all tried to establish alternatives to abortion programs this year alone in 2021. So while the entire world has been shut down, while men and women are losing their jobs, their health care across the country, people couldn't even afford essentials. And they needed government assistance more than ever before in history. These lawmakers are trying to steal their assistance and divert this money to programs meant to bring more needy and more poor children into the world. Because these clinics specifically attract women who are financially insecure. They're basically bringing more needy and poor children into the world that they can steal welfare funds from. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. If I hear any more on this, I'll let you know. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care, and I'll talk with you guys soon.